Welcome to Product Acquisition. Congratulations.
But there are things we can do, and examples I will share, that illustrate how we can take a subtractive approach to help our teams put impact front and center in the work that they do. First, keep all team and department goals close to company goals, uncomfortably close, perhaps. So the way that most organizations set goals is frankly bizarre to me. You've got company goals, then you cascade those down to department goals, because that's how we're supposed to do things, right? Then we cascade those down to big team goals, and we keep cascading them down to our team goals. And before you know it, you have like 500 goals that may or may not add up to a successful business at the end of the day. I often ask teams I work with, how do your individual team goals add up to company goals? And people look at me like I just asked them the most ridiculous question they've ever heard. They're like, we don't know. We spent all this time cascading things down and we're done and we never want to think about it again. And now we have a deck with 500 goals, and does that add up to revenue? I don't know. Leave me alone. I'm tired. And I want to note that for us as product leaders, often this middle area is where we feel like we're making our biggest contribution, right? This department goal, the team goal, when we do the very, very oh so clever work of taking those big company goals and breaking them down into things, putting strategies together, having goals that are actually features, but we don't necessarily trust people to not pick the features we want to do, so it's fine. And this is particularly true when it's OKR season. I almost got a camo hat made that says, "It's OKR season, y'all." And I might still do that. Because the whole phenomenon of OKR season is so bizarre to me. When once a week, people pretend to care about their goals, and then they immediately stop pretending to care. I will also often ask teams I work with, how do you incorporate your OKRs into your sprint planning? And they also look at me like I've asked them the most outrageous question in the world. They're like, we don't do that. Sprint planning is when we just like go on vibes and do t-shirt sizing. But OKRs is when we pretend to care about that's what the season's for. Let's pretend to care about your goals season. Now, I don't know if any of you have read Christina Wadke's book, Radical Focus. It is the best book about OKRs, and I highly recommend you read it. It is cited extensively in all of my books. But she shares something in this book which honestly changed my world. Once I saw this, I could not unsee it. And I hope that some of you can't unsee it either. She says, if you want to lead impactful teams and organizations, don't do this multi-layer cascade. Instead, think about the company goals as a center of gravity and have every other team or department goal orbit no more than one step away from company goals. I'm going to say that one more time, because if you take nothing else away from this talk, I hope it is this. Have every team, department, function, anything you want to set goals for, no more than one clear, understandable step away from company goals. Now, this is really hard to do, and it's especially hard for us to do as product leaders at any level, because we're basically getting rid of the part of this where we feel like we're adding the most value. We're saying we're not going to be the super clever people who figure out how to translate company goals into all these different layers. We're going to say, no, our job is just to help our teams align as straightforwardly as possible. Doesn't mean we disappear into a cave and come up with the magical 100-slide document. It means that we just try to keep this as straightforward, as connected, as impactful as humanly possible. So I worked with a team a while ago. This was a marketing team at a B2C company. And they had a company goal of 1 million new paying users by the end of the year. This was the goal that they were really working towards. So I sat down with this marketing team and I said, all right, what's our goal? How do we contribute to this? And they said, well, I got news for you, buddy. It's OKR season. So we're going to answer that by sitting down for a week and making a slide deck with all of our OKRs, and each OKR is going to have an owner. We're going to do a RACI matrix for each objective. We're going to have this dialed in. There will be no overlap between any of the key results. We're going to make this perfect, and then at the end of the quarter, we'll measure it when we have to pretend to care about it again. So the quarter passes. We get together again, and suddenly everything is OKRs. All we care about is this magical document that we put together several months prior. And we, again, block out a whole day to score our previous key results. And we go through this with a fine-tooth comb. Is this a 6 or a 7? We start introducing decimal points when we don't need them. We're like, oh, this is actually like a 6.52, or is it a 6.53? Very serious business is happening. So it's 5 o'clock, it's the end of the day, everyone's exhausted. We're like, all right, we scored all our OKRs, time to go home. And I'm like, wait, I just have one question before we go. How many new paying users did we add? Silence. That wasn't one of the key results. What's the point? We already knew we had to do that. Like, you don't get to make a clever, smart key result around something you already know you're doing. So the leader of this team did something really interesting that I still think about a lot today. She said, all right, our OKR deck, we're getting rid of it. Throw it out. She walks up to a whiteboard and she says, this is what we need to do by the end of the year. 1 million new paying users. This is where we are now. We've added about 100,000 new paying users. This is the only thing I want us to look at when we're talking about our goals and why we're doing the things we're doing. This is what really matters to the business. And if you are 51% confident that a new approach will get us 1% closer, I will advocate for you. But if it doesn't have to do with this, I don't want to talk about it. That is what impact-first product leadership looks like in practice. Not adding 25 goals, but aligning the team around the one goal that really matters.